AITAH for no longer speaking with my best friend after her reaction to seeing me naked. I, 20M, have been friends with Julie, 20F, for almost 13 years. We went to the same middle school, high school, and even got accepted into the same college. We also studied the same major. We were really close, did a lot of things together, always had the other to rely on. A few months ago, when I was walking Julie back home to her after a party, she invited me in to watch some TV and hang out. During the middle of some movie, we started making out. We've made out a few times, but we've never taken it further than that. However, Julie did want to take it further that night, and it was really getting hot and heavy. I wasn't sure about it because I didn't know how this would affect our friendship, but I was also drunk, so my inhibitions were lessened. But when she removed my boxers, there was an instant reaction in her face, which really hurt me. For context, I am tall, 6'5", but have an average-sized package down there. I'm guessing Julie expected something much bigger because I'm tall. Either way, Julie said she needed a minute to compose herself, and she asked if we could proceed at a later day, as she wasn't really feeling it that night. Julie apologized a lot, and I told her it was all right and left. The next day, Julie called me and apologized a lot, and was even crying on the phone and asked if it would affect our friendship. I told her I just needed space from her. Julie accepted it. But ever since then, I've kind of just ghosted her and no longer hung out with her. We used to study together for exams and finals week, but I told Julie I wasn't feeling it and I just studied on my own. Julie invited me to her home for Christmas, as I'm also really close with their family, but I told her I didn't want to. I came home for Christmas and my sister asked me about Julie and if anything happened between us. My sister is also friends with Julie. I told my sister up front that nothing serious happened, but I don't really want to be friends with Julie anymore. My sister didn't press any further and I thanked her for being understanding. Last night, Julie did call me again and was crying on the phone a lot and asked about our friendship and if it was over. I told her upfront that I just don't want to be friends with her anymore, and I hope she respects the decision. Julie apologized a lot and asked if there was anything she could do, and I told her she had no reason to apologize, but I just wanted to move forward and leave this all in the past. I told Julie sorry and then hung up. AITAH. Update. Having read a few comments about how our friendship at least needed a final discussion before closure, I decided to call Julie and just put it all out there. We had a video call, and I told her my feelings and how that night had really hurt me, and how I felt humiliated and degraded. Julie apologized and said how she reacted was really insensitive, and she regrets it to this day. She said she didn't know why she reacted like that, and there were a lot of things going through her mind at that moment. She then started crying really badly and said she loved me and did not want our friendship to end. I was surprised when she used the word loved. I don't know why she said that. I told Julie up front that I just don't feel comfortable with her anymore, and that I mentally associate my humiliation with her, and I don't think I'll ever be able to disassociate it. I told her it's not her fault, but we just need to end it for everyone's good. We talked for a few more minutes, and it was really sad, but I was thankful that Julie accepted and understood my decision. That's probably my final update. Thank you everyone for the advice. AITAH for leaving my ex-fiancé. After he left me in the Cayman Islands on vacation, my ex-fiancé and I were together for just under 3 years. When we first got together, he was in a tough spot, homeless with twin kids. I let him move into my one-bedroom apartment, even though it was a huge inconvenience for me. I rearranged everything to make space for his children and stepped into a motherly role, taking care of them more than he did. Despite everything I did, he had serious jealousy issues. I never gave him a reason to be jealous, but he had a past of infidelity, so I guess he was projecting. Once, while watching Spider-Man 2, I casually mentioned that Jamie Foxx looked good for his age. That one comment sent him spiraling. He packed all his stuff and everything I had bought for his kids while I was at work and moved out. My friends still call it the Jamie Foxx debacle. We eventually made amends and stayed together for 2 more years. In April of that year, she proposed, and shortly after, I found out I was pregnant. We were both excited about welcoming our baby girl, but in my second trimester, I miscarried. I was devastated. While I was grieving, he said something that broke me. It's not hard for me because I already have a son and daughter. A month later, we went on a family vacation to the Cayman Islands for my parents' 25th wedding anniversary. My parents paid for everything: flights, the Airbnb, groceries. All we had to cover were excursions and alcohol. On day 3 of the trip, out of nowhere, he accused me of cheating while I was pregnant. As awful as that was, the next day was worse. My family and I went snorkeling, but we ended up taking my parents back to the house early because my mom had a migraine. That left my fiance, my sister, her boyfriend, my youngest sister, 15 at the time, and me. While the rest of us swam, the guys were having drinks at the bar. When we returned, my fiance started complaining about how he couldn't even afford a haircut, despite recently getting a promotion to $85K/year. I playfully joked, "It's not like he can't afford it. He just likes my haircuts better." He completely lost it. He yelled at me, stormed off, and disappeared for an hour. When we finally found him, he drove us back to the Airbnb like a maniac. Everyone in the car, including my little sister, was terrified. Back at the house, he threw a tantrum, slamming doors, huffing, and yelling at my parents. I begged everyone to calm down, but the situation escalated. That night, he bought a $700 last-minute plane ticket home and left in the middle of the night without a word. Yes, the man who couldn't afford a haircut managed to buy a ticket on a whim. When we got back home, I tried to hold the relationship together because I wanted it to work so badly. But eventually, I realized I had to leave. I weaned myself off his kids and forced him to be their parent again. So, Reddit, AITAH for leaving him? I gave everything to this relationship, ignored countless red flags, and sacrificed my own well-being. I loved his kids and wanted a future with him, but at what cost? Was I wrong for walking away? AITAH. My coworker went on sick leave for 4 weeks after I refused to do a task she assigned me. About a month ago, let's call her Lisa, asked me to handle a task that, frankly, was outside my job description and directly part of her responsibilities. It wasn't a huge task, but it was time-consuming and I already had a packed schedule. Plus, it seemed unfair that she was trying to offload her work onto me, especially since I don't get paid more for doing others' work, and with rising costs I have more on my plate. I politely but firmly told her, "Sorry, I can't take this on right now. Maybe we can talk to the manager about redistributing tasks if you're overwhelmed." She just nodded, said, "Okay," and walked away. The next day, Lisa didn't come to work. I didn't think much of it at first, but then she called in sick for the rest of the week. Fast forward, and now it's been 4 weeks of her being on sick leave. I heard through the office grapevine that she told HR she's dealing with stress and anxiety because of workplace tension and the rise in the cost of living here in South Africa. This is where I start feeling guilty. Did my refusal to do the task trigger something for her? I genuinely didn't mean to upset her. I just didn't think it was fair to dump her work on me. But now I'm wondering if I misread the situation. Maybe she was struggling more than I realized, and my response pushed her over the edge. Now, the workload is heavier for everyone because Lisa's tasks are being reassigned to the rest of us. Some coworkers have started making comments like, "Well, if someone had just helped Lisa out, maybe she wouldn't be gone for so long." I know they're not directly blaming me, but it still stings. Am I the asshole by feeling this way? Should I have just done the task to avoid this whole situation? Or is this something Lisa needs to take accountability for? AITAH for installing a lock on my fridge to stop my roommate from stress eating my food. So, I, 30F, live with my roommate, Sarah, 29F, who has this habit of eating everything in the fridge, whether it's hers or not. She always says it's because she's stressed and swears she'll replace it, but my groceries vanish faster than a dating app match after mentioning kids. The last straw was when she ate my emotional support tiramisu. For context, I'd spent hours making this tiramisu after a rough week at work. It was my therapy and a dessert. Sarah ate the whole thing without asking and left a note on the empty dish that said, "Sorry, PMS sucks. I owe you." That was it. I lost it. I ordered a lock for the fridge for my food and moved everything into it. Now Sarah's furious, saying I've ruined the vibe of the apartment and that I'm passive-aggressive for locking her out of the shared fridge. She even tried to rally our other roommates against me. Spoiler, they also hide their snacks from her. AITAH for locking up my food, or is Sarah just mad she can't steal my serotonin anymore? AITAH for telling my sister she can't bring her kids to my wedding after she let them destroy my engagement gifts. I, 27F, got engaged earlier this year to my fiancé, 29M, and we're planning our wedding for next spring. I'm thrilled about this new chapter in my life, but my older sister, 34F, is making things really difficult. For some context text, my sister has 3 kids, 10M, 7F, 3F, and they can be a handful. I love them, but she doesn't do much to discipline them. At my engagement party, they completely wrecked the gifts I received. One of them spilled juice all over a photo book my best friend had made for me, another ripped open a wrapped gift out of curiosity, and the youngest knocked over a cake stand. My sister just laughed it off, saying, "Kids will be kids." I was furious, but I didn't want to cause a scene at the time. Afterward, I talked to her privately and asked her to be more mindful of her kids' behavior at future events. She got defensive and told me I was being uptight and that life with kids is messy. Now that we're planning the wedding, I've told her that we want a child-free ceremony to avoid any disruptions. She's furious, saying I'm excluding her family and making her feel unwelcome. She even accused me of being jealous because I don't have kids yet. My parents are siding with her, saying I should be more understanding and that family comes first. But honestly, I just want to enjoy my wedding without worrying about another disaster caused by her kids. AITAH?